Hi, everybody, it's Weird Wink Wilkinson laughing and scratching at you. How's everybody doing today? I got a little bit of a stiff neck. Let me just fix this up. Oh, that feels a lot better. Well, I got a great show for you today with some wonderful weird stuff. I feel so very weird.
There are some things in this world that go way beyond human understanding. Things that cannot be explained, things that most people don't want to know about. That is where we come in.
No human being would stack books like this.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. I'm all out of bubblegum.
Well, it looks like you're the one who needs to be taught a lesson, pal. Class is Pain 101. The instructor's Casey Jones.
Look, I don't want to fight you.
Well, tough rocks, pal.
Do you want some coffee, Mr. Tully?
Do I?
Yes, have some.
Yes, have some.
It's a cup of coffee in the big time, yeah. Cup of coffee in the big time.
Hey, what do you say we both be independent together, huh?
I guess one person can make a difference. Enough said.
We have the tools, we have the talent.
It's Miller time.
Luminous being so be, not this fruit matter.
Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow, or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
Hey, these aren't my rules. Come to think of it, I don't have any rules.
Well, that's great. Either I have a monster in my kitchen or I'm completely crazy.
I don't think you're crazy.
You know something? Maybe I am insane. Maybe I am insane.
Pizza Dude's got 30 seconds.
Rise to the top, oh yeah.
That's the nicest thing a dog can say about anybody.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Enough, I get the point. You know what you need? You need a Brazilian plastic surgeon.
I've got one that can see.
Sometimes happens, someone has to deal with it, and who are you gonna call?
It's showtime.
All right, welcome everybody to episode 264 of Comic Book Radio. I'm your host, Peter Cimetti. Tonight, my guest is Michael Bancroft. It's always a great conversation when Michael's on the show. One of my favorite people to talk to, and it's going to be a good one. Man, oh man, it's going to be fun catching up with him. Now, before I bring Michael on, let me say hello to those of you in the chat. Hey, look at that. He's first here. He's first. Says hello, hello, hello. That's maybe a little more British than Australian. Andy, what's up, Andy? Good to see you. We got Wayne here too. How's it going, Wayne? Ben is in the chat. What's up, Chris? How's it going? We got Jeff here. How's it going, Jeff? Chris is saying someone needs to draw Macho Man in the background in their comics. Someone has had to have done that. Absolutely. What Geeks Do? What's up, What Geeks Do? Hope you're doing good. Good to see you. And before I do bring Michael on, I just want to remind you guys, if you like the content on here, if you like the videos, if you like the shows, if you like what I'm talking about, please give them a thumbs up, give them a like, and also make sure you're subscribed to the channel. If you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that. If you are subscribed to the channel, thank you very much. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it. Randy, what's up, Randy? And we got Shrek here too in the chat. All right, without further ado, let's bring him on, the man of the hour, Mr. Michael Bancroft. What's up, Michael?
Hello. You know, I'm getting goosebumps watching some of those things in that intro. I love it.
Oh, you like the intro? Yeah. It's a new intro.
Yeah, I do. I've seen it before, but every time it just gets you.
Yeah, it's different from the one that when you were on the last time.
Mm-hmm.
I know you've watched the show before, so you've probably seen it before.
I
But
have.
yeah, it always gets me pumped up.
Yeah, it's good when you do an intro to get into the right frame of mind. A lot of I like the Balboa one. There's all there's good stuff in there. I like it. I might have to do something similar for myself.
Yeah, I got like a narrative flow going on throughout the intro, and it kind of just happened.
That Balboa one
naturally.
in particular, that came out. I was in New Zealand. I went back the next day to watch it again just so I could see that scene again.
Oh, it's such a great scene.
Yeah.
Probably one of the best in that whole series.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't care too much for the Creed films though. Have you seen those?
I watched the first one and I didn't go back for the second one. I thought it was all right. Like I feel like he's just cashing in, but that's fine, whatever. But it's like the best moments in Rocky, the ones that you go back and watch, the scenes of Rocky and him and his trainers and Apollo and.
Yeah. Well, I mean that series. Stallone has been very loud about over the years that he really gets very little ownership of that, if any. It's mostly the producer.
Oh, that sucks because he wrote the original one, didn't he? He won an Oscar for that.
Yeah. He wrote the original and took like something like $200,000 less than what he would have been paid. He took something like $25,000 to star in it. They would have given him like $250,000 to not.
I like that. It's a man who banks on himself.
And he was like, "There's no one else that could play this part." To the tune of putting his money where his mouth is.
Yeah, could you imagine now Stallone not being Rocky? Like that's not even.
No, can't imagine that at all.
Also, I like the Macho Man, and I was streaming earlier, and I was like, there was this time years back where for some reason Joe and Pete did like. Macho Man Hulk Hogan style kayfabe for like
it was
hour.
Great. It was great. Yeah, we didn't break character the whole way. And even at the end, Joe is like snapping to his Slim Jim, and I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, after that, we're like, I'm out. I can't take this anymore. And the other half are loving it. They're like, go. And I was just like, I would let you two just go at it.
Like the battle of the Macho Man. Where is Joe? I haven't seen Joe in a while.
Man, you wouldn't believe what Joe has gone through over the last 3 years. Physically, health problems and stuff. Plus, just, he's in California and everything's going on over there. He's recently moved house. But, he was editing. He edits my books. He was still editing, because I think they're about to release the final 2 Arc Athenas. And then he is a co-writer on Aunt T Bear's book. So he's doing his thing as much as he can. But yeah, he had big health issues. It stems from before COVID.
Oh, man.
But,
I had no
he's
idea.
He's doing well now. So just
because I knew he had a bout with COVID, and he seemed like he really, kicked its butt a bit. But then he kind of disappeared shortly after. I didn't know if something else had gone down or whatever. I love that guy. I hope he's all right.
Yeah. We all love Joe, but I don't see him coming back to YouTube.
Yeah.
The YouTube that Joe was hanging out on back in 2021, 22, different YouTube today. So I don't think he wants to come back.
So much has happened, I mean, part of this, I really want to catch up with you because just so much has gone down for both of us since the last time we talked. But so much has happened sometimes where I'll be, since like 2020, since COVID time, I'll be looking for food sometime in the pantry at the house, and I find something and I'm like, this expired in 2021? Like, what the hell?
You need to clean out your pantry.
And yeah, but I'm thinking like, I got that like maybe a year or 8 or 10 months ago, because it's like that's how much time feels so weird for me.
That's called getting older, I think.
It's just like up until it's weird for me. There's like pre-COVID and then post-COVID for me, and time is so strange for me right now. It just feels like, how was 2020 5 years ago?
Yeah, and COVID, the thing, like COVID-19, that we first started seeing that at the end of 2019. That was 5 years ago. That's crazy. Because my whole channel and everything came about because of that. Because, you know, I was working from home and I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to stream during my lunch. And, you know, sometimes I'd be like running into work or whatever. But yeah, that all came about during that time.
Wow.
And luckily, you know, I'm still sort of working from home a lot. So I can still do it to a degree.
Yeah. It's so strange for me because it feels like it was moments ago and very far away at the same time. And at no other point in my life can I say that time felt that way. Like 2019, it felt like, yeah, all the other years they're proportional. 2018, same thing. And then 2020 hit, and it just feels like 2 years were gone in the blink of an eye. And then now here we are in 2025, and sometimes I'm like, what the hell? Like, how is it 2025?
It works like that. Dude, we were locked down for the longest continuous period of anyone in the world in Melbourne here.
Oh, no way.
We were like, you know, crawling up the walls. It was bad.
Wow.
By the end
Holy
of it.
smokes. Well,
yeah. We had curfew and everything.
Let's hope we never see that again. Especially that kind of response. Now, we haven't caught up. It's got to be at least a year or more, I think. What's been going on with you since the last time we chatted? You had a book. You're doing fulfillment. Like, what's going on?
I got them right here.
There it is. Wow, nice.
So, I think probably the last time we chatted, I'd already printed my. This is the reprint of my first book. So that had probably definitely already happened. And then
you're completely sold out of the first printing?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. So
fantastic.
like,
Congrats.
I think I had 1,100-ish to sell. I actually ordered a whole bunch. I ordered 1,500 copies, and so many of them were just damaged. It was awful.
Oh, I hear you.
I was like,
oh man.
You know, I don't want to get you started on
right
printer issues. You know, you're like the you're like the guru of printer issues.
Yeah.
Ended up saving like 1,100 copies, and we sold them, and they're all fine.
That's great.
I went with a new printer. The actual print inside looks a lot better.
Nice.
Crowdfunded this, and this one was the testing ground for my new site. So, you know, when everything with Indiegogo went down, all the shadow banning and the no communication and everything. And
did you get shadow banned?
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
But it was sort of already done by then. You know, it didn't really affect me in the same way it affected others. But I just sort of saw the writing on the wall, and I was like, you know, Indiegogo had already been up to a lot of shenanigans as it was. Everyone rags on Kickstarter for being a woke company, but Indiegogo was just as woke.
I think Indiegogo's asleep is more like it.
Yeah. So it was like, you know, and I think at the time, Mandy Summers had a site that was going well. Shane had just launched his site, and some other guys that I knew had done pretty well with their sites. So I was sort of like chatting with them. They said, yeah, Shopify. So I did that, did a test run. It went great. I think we sold like 200 or 300 copies of the reprint. So nice. All right, it works. You know, that was a stressful moment doing it all by myself. But so then, yeah, did this one, and that went gangbusters. Like, this went crazy because I did the hardcovers as well. Look at these bad boys.
Oh, okay. Those are oversized too. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, they're not quite bande dessinée French size, but they're pretty close. And that's a whole different experience.
Logistically, how did you handle that? Because hardcovers can be a bit of a nightmare between getting them in and shipping them out.
You just spend a lot of money. That's all. Like,
that's
more money
just throw money at it.
A whole lot. And then you don't make that much money profit because it would be unreasonable. These are already super expensive. Trying to sell these in Australia, because I sell everything American dollar. Trying to sell these in Australia with the US dollar as it is like, oh, how much are these? Are they like $80 or something? And it's like, That's expensive. So I think I priced them at 40 American, which I think is reasonable for. I mean, this one's 100 and something pages. Oversized hardcover is, independent book is fair enough. But that campaign, I think it's on the cusp of 80 grand. Like it's an online store, but I'm still counting. Sold all in all, I think somewhere around the region of 1,500, 1,600 books on that campaign. So that was good growth.
That's
good
nice.
Numbers. It was a massive campaign because, again, the book is 100 pages. It was a lot of work.
And those are all direct sales? No distribution involved? Is there any retail involved?
No retail. I'm just sort of taking things one step at a time, because I'm kind of, this started out as a webcomic. So I didn't really have an inkling that I was going to be doing, books and chop it up how you normally would into floppies and all that sort of stuff. So it is very much an ongoing story. So I'm thinking, I'm just going to keep going like this, building up my catalog, and then, maybe start putting some feelers out. And I see people going to cons, getting into, just sort of more like Barnes and Noble type places. But eventually, we'll get into that. I'm definitely open to all and any avenue of selling.
Yeah, I was too at one point, and then I did it. And then I was like, I don't know if I should have done it.
Look, here's the thing. Just selling direct to customer, direct to backers, it can simplify things a lot. And, there's doing the crowdfunding way, there's very little risk as long as you actually put in the work and get the book out. There's very little risk because, the backers share the risk with, whatever small amount that they make. That all builds up and then, you do it. But yeah, getting into retailing and everything and getting large numbers of books printed and speculating on whether any of them are going to sell, especially in this market, who knows?
Especially, the book market's returnable. So
yeah, and I have no name to trade on or anything like that. I'm just a guy who started X number of years ago with a dream, and so we'll see. But things are building and people like the story. The cool thing about doing it on my own site is I get reviews. People can send in reviews, and
nice.
That's all awesome. And they're like, that's so good to read. And
that's great.
I also did these. So these are trading cards.
Oh, let me make you full screen there.
Yeah, it's like a series of 9 base cards, and then each one there's like 3 triptychs. They're all kind of out of order at the moment. You can kind of see how they
fantastic. Yeah.
And so I'm about to send them out this weekend, and I added cool rare cards and stuff like that, so not everyone gets them. And I also thought, what's an interesting way to to make the trading cards a little bit special. I actually put a mini comic on the back of each card
that relates
to the character on the front, and it's a little bit of extra lore, a little bit of extra story, bit of fun.
Very nice. That reminds me of the Marvel Universe Series 1, where they had they did something like that with towards the end of the set, they had Spider-Man interviewing various characters, and he interviewed Dr. Doom or Wolverine and that kind of a thing, and it was done like a comic, front and back, on the card. And it reminds me of that. I haven't seen anything like that since, so very nice, man.
I was not really into trading cards, and then you make a lot of crowdfunds. A lot of people put in trading cards, and I just started having a collection. I was like, I think I actually like these more than anything else that I'm getting extra.
I love trading cards.
I want to do one. I want to do a set, but I want to make it an actual thing, not just random cards here and there. Have a series or whatever. Have them all numbered and go together and everything. So I thought I got a little bit of downtime between now and my next book. So,
I love the trading cards. Like with King Cryptid, I mean, we got binders and stuff too for trading cards. but the way that I do the card set with King Cryptid, there's front and back covers with it. So all the covers are on the set, but on the back covers, on the front cover, there's like a description about the issue, but on the back cover is like a necro case file.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to read like the cover-up report that they do about what's going on in the issue. You know, so I like all those little things. I love the power stat cards. We have those for the Alterna ones, but on the King Cryptid ones, I love doing something different and offering something that adds to the overall series. So
95% of people do the power stat thing. And I've got hundreds of cards, and almost all of them have that on it. It doesn't really apply to my story. It's not that kind of a book. You know, it's not a superhero story with, you know, that sort of stuff. So I was thinking of something cool to do. I've seen something similar to what you just showed me. Von Klaus has similar thing where he had sort of like a case file, and it's a really cool graphic design and everything. And I thought, oh, maybe something like that. But then I thought, you know what? No, I'm just going to go balls to the wall and then draw friggin' 11 different little mini comics. So yeah, that was
there you go. Well,
it delayed the project a little bit, but you know, it was worth it.
I love that you have the 9 cards too, because it drove me nuts when I was a kid. It still drives me nuts as an adult when I see people do like a 5-card set or something like a 7-card set or whatever. Mm-hmm. You know, 9 cards, there's 9 pockets on the page. You could put them in a binder. It looks nice. You could do some kind of design like how you have it with the triptych. And, you know, like we do a 9-card panel thing where the background connects. Mm-hmm. But it used to drive me nuts when I was a kid, and it would be a 100-card set. And the checklist would just be hanging out on like one page all by itself. Like, what? You couldn't just 99 it? You know, you had to do 100.
I know, yeah. They weren't thinking.
No.
They weren't thinking about merchandising.
It's weird, you know, 50 card set, they do like that. Yeah, it'd be all over the place. It's strange. It's a 9-pocket page. Just do it divisible by 9. It's not that hard.
Now the only thing I need to do is I need to actually get an actual page, because all the old pages that I have, like the go into binders that you put them in, they're all already taken with my old Spider-Man card set, so I don't want to take them out. They've been in there for God, what is that, 30 years? How long is that?
You remove them from them, and the art's gonna stay. It's gonna be stuck on there. Yeah.
No, I got to get some new ones for myself. But no, it's cool, and I you know, I looked into it. I was like, oh yeah, how much does it cost to do like an actual? You know, you get in a real trading card pack, you get the foil thing and everything. And it was something like $5 a packet, and I was like, well, I'm not doing that.
So it gets insane.
Came up with an alternative for that.
You got to have like a 1,000,000 pack run for it to be worthwhile. They're like, well, if you pay, you know, 50 grand or something on the 1,000,000 pack run, we could get them down cheap for you.
Well, you could probably do it in China, but now that's, you know, becoming blocked in of itself.
I do like a hand packing scenario. I do like a heat sealing and a hand packing scenario. So I kind of get all the randomizations of the cards up, and then I don't know what the hell's in what once they're all together.
I'm doing the same thing, yeah. Because I've got these rare cards. So, you know, every 3rd pack will get this one, and every 10th pack will get this one. And they've got like a little hollow foil effect on them. So they're just extra cards not everyone gets. I won't know who they're going out to. They'll just be randomized.
That's fun.
We'll see how it goes. Hopefully we'll get lucky.
I love doing that. I got we did like 1 out of every 50 packs. You got a sketch card was the odds.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I sold boxes too, like actual like sealed boxes with 20 packs in them, and each box had all the guaranteed special cards in there. But they also had packs where maybe you got something else too, depending on what you got. So, I love trading cards. It's so much fun. It's easily my most loved add-on to all the crowdfunding stuff, and I've been collecting cards since I was a kid. I haven't collected cards much in the mainstream level for years, only because when I was a kid you could get a pack of like 12 to 20 and it was like $1 or $2. And now it's like you get a pack, it's like 3 cards, it costs like $8. Like what the like cardboard must have went through the roof at some point, you know.
My son collects football cards, and they're $4, and you think you get like 15. and they're amazing. The printing and the variety of all the different cards. So they're doing it right, and they're targeting kids. Like, he's 7, and he loves collecting his footy cards.
Yeah, there you go.
But
that's not so bad.
Yeah, that's what the comic industry forgot. That you need to actually get kids involved at some point.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think they have seemed to forsaken the kids, the younger market?
That's a really good question. Yeah, we all talk about that it happened, but I never really stopped to think about why it happened. I think maybe they just realized they could make a really big, quick buck selling to speculators and investors. So they sort of started erring towards that. And now they're trapped in a spiral. It's like a death spiral that they can't get out of because, every time there's a new title, it's a new #1. And it's a new, like, how many #1 Batman and Spider-Man books does the world need? And they're not actually worth anything, but for some reason they do keep selling in big numbers, and then you get the same drop off, and then they do it again. Whereas I remember one of the big things that I loved when I was 11, and my friend said, you got to pick a comic. It was great. Like, that's how it was back in the day. In 1991, they said, we're all collecting comics now. You have to pick what comic you're going to collect. And I was like, okay. So I went down just to the local shops, and there was a huge wall. I mean, they had everything. And this was right around the Image, either before or around the Image boom times. They were all there as well and everything. Anyway, I knew Spider-Man from the cartoon, so I picked Spider-Man. But one of the things I loved was straight away, and even though it was this one-off book, but they would do callbacks to issues and everything, and I really got this sense this is a story that's been happening all the way back to whenever issue 1 happened. I later found out when it happened and what it was and everything, and I felt that, and I was part of this thing, this ongoing thing.
Yeah, like you're peeking into the life of this character.
Yeah, it was issue, I think, in Amazing, it was 300 and something. I was like, oh, cool. Imagine if you could have 1 to 300. That would be really cool. And Web of Spider-Man was up to issue 80 something, and then I would see, like, Thor's up to 400, and like, look at these, but now everything's like 1, 2, it gets up to 6, and then they restart. It's like there's no all that's gone.
The gravitas of those numbers.
Yeah, I think Superman was in like the 800s or something, whatever.
At some point, yeah. I think I stopped collecting a lot of different Superman titles when Action Comics was around maybe 670, 680, something around there. But yeah, it definitely was going into there. They had that Action Comics number 1000 that they kind of compiled and released, and it was sort of like an anniversary issue a bunch of years ago. But
yeah, that was so special. They would do something special for like the 50th issue, the 100th issue. So where it was like Spider-Man 350, 400.
Yeah.
But look, Todd McFarlane is one of the only guys who's kind of carrying that on. Spawn is, I don't know what it's up to now, but it's crazy that it's still going.
Now he's doing that with Spawn, but he's got a bunch of different offshoot titles with Spawn too, right? So
yeah,
he's continuing the mainline title. It's still keeping the counting, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't really follow it anymore, but I respect it. And there was like hardly anything cooler to me as a 12-year-old or however old I was when Spawn hit the shelf. I thought that was just like the sickest thing I've ever seen. I was like, what is this? And that introduced me to Todd McFarlane. I didn't know about the guy because he'd already left Spider-Man by the time I came in. And I went back and first I bought the trade from a comic book shop. And then afterwards, when I got older, I got a bit more money, I went back and got the floppies.
Yeah, I was introduced to, oddly enough, to Todd's work, and I didn't even know it. I still have it. It's an old Incredible Hulk issue. And I really thought his Hulk was so cool. Like I couldn't even really read the comic properly, but I thought the visual was so cool. Just like this big,
so
monstrous,
is what he'd been.
Crazy, yeah. Just lots of stuff going on, and then I must have been drawn to his art because I never really paid much attention to the creators when I was a kid. I just paid attention to what I liked and what looked cool to me. So I fell in love with all that stuff between McFarlane and Jim Lee and Silvestri and a lot of those guys at that time period. But then I also fell in love with like John Byrne and Romita and all these things. I just looked at what appealed to me. And then later on, I paid more attention to who was making them. But I got introduced to McFarlane with his Spider-Man run. And then I think because of that familiarity with his style, I was drawn more to Spawn. I wasn't drawn too much to the rest of what was at Image, even though I did get all of the number ones.
I ignored all of it.
I didn't stick with any of it past the number ones of like Wildcats or Savage Dragon or whatever.
I think I have a Savage Dragon. The Wildcats thing was just like, I was like, that it was not for me at all.
It just, as a kid, it felt just like this is like cheap, weird X-Men.
Well, and as well, at that time, Marvel was still doing kind of flat colors. It looks so good. They had started introducing a little bit of, because the printing was getting better, but they could do a little bit of shading and stuff like that. But it didn't really take away. Whereas all the Image comics, what I could see, were really starting to try their hand at the digital stuff, and it looked so bad.
Yeah, a lot of it became so garish.
Yeah. And the comics that I have from those days, still to this day, the flats on the newsprint, it's so good. It's so bright and vibrant, and so when it all started heading in that direction, I just became less and less interested. And Image were really kind of pushing that because they were the young hip pioneer types. And because they were selling millions and gazillions of copies, so I guess Marvel wanted to follow.
I know. I thought it was, and my comic book collection takes a noticeable dive once it starts switching over to that coloration, and everything starts to change at both Marvel and DC in terms of even their graphic design presentation. Like the covers, just to me, start to look kind of hideous. They lose their this really nice graphic design that they used to have, where it was very, you had your corner box and you had the titles and the masthead look so great, and they'd incorporate nice graphic design with the art that would work. Then all of a sudden, it started turning into this really weird, let's throw every font what we possibly can onto the cover, and we'll change up every logo, and we don't really have corner boxes anymore, and the paper is it's nice, it's deluxe, but meanwhile the coloring, it just looks like they're going crazy on the burn and dodge tool.
Don't get me started on the burn and dodge.
It's just like, for the love of God, get the colorist away from the burn and the dodge.
When I was learning about coloring and I was watching tutorials, and a guy was bringing out the burn and dodge. I was like, all right, I mean, I guess I'll have a go at it. I was like, this is so much work, and the end result is just vomit. So no, I'm the exact same mind.
Yeah.
And I liked it back in the day, the different titles, they had a different way of doing their covers. Even in the Spider-Man titles that I was into, each series had its own sort of flavor. And I was into Ghost Rider as well at the time, and they did some cracking covers back in the early 90s on Ghost Rider.
Oh yeah. Teixeira's art. Oh man.
Yeah.
That was great.
So it did. It all changed. Oh, well, we sound like old men yelling at these.
Yeah, I expected to feel this way in life when I hit maybe my 60s or something.
I like the digital coloring now. I love flat and everything. I love people who are keeping that all alive and everything. If it's good, I like it. But I think I'm happy that now people have sort of figured out what works with the digital coloring and what is
I agree.
overcooking it.
If anything, I've seen stuff too. You ever see these? I get these Instagram ads that are tailored to me, I suppose, like everything is nowadays. But it's telling me to buy a set of these brushes for Photoshop or for whatever that mimic like the retro effects. Like the dot matrixing and all the other stuff. They're selling that stuff, and I haven't pulled the trigger on any of it because We print on newsprint, so a lot of that stuff kind of shows up the way it is. But
It
there's still
happens anyway.
stuff. There's still stuff that you could see and go, man, they really replicate that well. So it's kind of funny that we are now at a point where we're using advanced technology to create the effects of what things used to look like.
Things color shifting. Someone was going through, it's probably Joe Sontag was going through an old Venom trade paperback, and I was like, oh, in the actual printed floppies of these, you can see where they overprinted the blue and the black, and the blue is a heavy ink and the black sits on top of it, so you can actually see the outline and everything. I was like, it just adds that, like, that doesn't really happen anymore because it's different. Like, a lot of people print digitally or whatever, and people trap their colors differently. So, but yeah, that was a thing back in the day. You could actually look in the paper and you could see, like, there was so much ink on these pages. It was almost like, overlapping and everything. Yeah, you'd have to replicate that, like, somehow graphically these days.
Yeah, that's a big reason that when you're lettering a comic, you're supposed to have all the lettering with just black.
Yeah.
Some people go into that with like 4-color black, but and technology is different with printing now, but you can still have these misregistrations that occur, and then your lettering will look like total crap. Just
I do pre-press for people now, and that's the one thing that kind of annoys me a little, is everyone flattens their artwork with the lettering on it and sends it to me, and then I have to kind of go into it and select out the black lettering to return it back to black. So yeah, I feel your pain. But you're right. Yeah, you don't want 4 colors going down on your fine art, on your letters. That's you're just asking for trouble. And I've seen it. It's something that is really annoying whenever I get a book. I mean, usually it only happens through crowdfunded books, and you're like, oh, I didn't really take their time with the pre-press, and I can see rastering and I can see things, and I'm like, this is not.
I got a book one time, and they'll go nameless, but I think they sent the whole thing through at 72 DPI. It is horribly pixelated.
No.
I couldn't believe it.
It's such a shame. People
really
spend so much time on the art and everything, and then they fumble the last 5 yards. And if that goes to lettering as well, terrible lettering on a book or terrible graphic design, and that's just rampant throughout crowdfunding comics, is terrible graphic design. And anytime I see someone with good graphic design, it's like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah,
and it doesn't even have to be great, but just
solid lettering and graphic design will make every book at least look like it belongs to be there.
Yeah.
And then it'll do the opposite. It'll kill beautiful art. It'll ruin a great story because it renders it kind of difficult to get through because it's so done haphazardly. And we all are there at one point or another, but there's so much more at our disposal right now that I feel like a lot of people need to spend time just learning some stuff, getting used to the works of how things are, and then go into getting their stuff out there. Even just take your time on a small story, before you jump into your magnum opus or something.
That's what's crazy, because there's never been more information out there on how to do literally anything. Pete, do you want to know how to make clay pots out of, dirt dug out of the hills of China, in the traditional way? There's 100 videos out there that'll tell you exactly how to do it.
Yeah.
But there's literally information on how to do anything you could ever want to do, but people don't want to go and take the time and look at it.
Yeah, it takes time, and I think there's something to it where people that do it well make it look like it's so easy, so you could just go in there and you're like, oh, how hard is this? And a lot of people, they either end up finding out how hard it is and realize, well, I gotta brush up on this stuff, or they just kind of wing it and they're like, who cares, whatever, this is my first one, and everyone could just deal with that. And 20 years ago or 30 years ago or whatever, hell, even like 15, maybe 10 years ago, I'd be like, okay, but at this point, really, there is no excuse to just either you can go and find all the information and just look stuff up, and there's tons of tutorials and videos. It's insane how many tutorials and videos there are to make comics. And then there's tons of people that know what they're doing, to reach out and either hire someone, or just tons of people like ourselves, who we have all these shows and streams all the time where you basically can just kind of check stuff out and learn a lot through that. So I don't know why people feel the need to rush so much into making this stuff, because you're making a bad first impression that's going to really stick with people for a long time. And if you price your book at like $20, if you're pricing your book at like $3 to $5 and it's your first effort and it's kind of okay, but if you're pricing it at like $20 to $25 and it's comparable to people who've been doing this thing for decades, that's going to really sour a lot of people on your efforts.
Yeah, I've gotten books that I can tell 100% were printed not on what I would consider a professional printer. Maybe like a mid-level, a high-level office printer, or kind of like a low-level semi-professional printer. Yeah, you can tell because it has a certain muddiness to the colors. There's a lack of vibrancy. There's also, you get a different ink quality across the page and everything like that.
Even the paper stocks that can be used on those printers are very different.
And I'm like, damn, yeah, you pay good money for these things, and then you get it, and then you just have that, and that's a feeling. Like, that's a feeling you get when you receive something. So I'm really proud when people open my book, they get this friggin', this cool UV spot effect. You can actually feel it on your fingers and everything.
Nice. Yeah.
The guy who printed this here in Melbourne, he has the best, most expensive printer in the Southern Hemisphere, and he has been in the industry for like 40 years. And I know him, like, we're on a name-to-name basis. I email him, he'll email me back in 2 minutes. He's actually hand-delivered comics before, because he's like, I'm around the corner, I'll just get in the truck, and like, it's crazy. So it's like, when you get a book, you want that feeling. Another one, people say, like, I got these cool end papers on the hardcovers, like they open that up and they see that, that feeling. Oh wow, this is something different, special. That's what you pay for, and if you don't get that, it's
especially if you're charging a premium price, at whatever price you're charging, you should always be aiming to give your best effort and get it as good as you possibly can within a realistic frame of just not just time but budget. But if you're charging a premium, especially, if it comes through, you're charging $40 for that hardcover, and someone looks through it and there's errors all over the place, the paper's cheap, the printing, just, you could tell it wasn't pre-pressed, the levels are all over the place with the colors, just absolutely devastating.
You're shooting yourself in your own foot by doing that, because now even if the story's great and the art's great and everything, there's people that are like, well, I've already gotten one and I had that bad experience. There's 100 other guys, thousands of other guys now, and more coming in all the time who are also got great art. Their story looks decent. I'll probably try them instead. I got the same lesson from Adam Lawson, who said, whatever you do, you make a t-shirt, get it as high quality as possible. And I was like, he's like, because you could sell the first t-shirt and that's great, but then if everyone is like, oh, the t-shirt's terrible, and you see people out there wearing them and it's all like ratty and everything, that's not a good ad for your company.
When it's kind of like the iron-on, thing, and after like 1 or 2 washes, it starts to curl and peel up, and
so that's what I did. I invested in super high quality and couldn't be happy with it.
Very nice, man. All right, let me get to the chat with some stuff here. Spicer McLeroy, thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships to people in the chat. If you got a membership that Spicer gifted to you, congrats, and I hope you enjoy it. What's up, Edwin? Good to see you. JW Learning says, as someone who worked in printing for years, I know the pain of working with bad files. Yeah. it's time consuming, and sometimes there's stuff that you can't really correct, and you need to hope and pray that they have some master file that they didn't destroy.
Yeah. Yeah, and you want a good printer will actually reach out and say, did you mean to do this, or is that supposed to be like that?
Yeah, that was the thing that hit me when I got in that book that looked like it was really low resolution printing. I was like, what? The printer didn't give these people a heads up that,
I know.
You guys are sending in web files, basically.
Terrible.
And instead, they're just like, nah, we'll print it. Who cares? It's horrible. You count on people to sort of have your back at various stages to be like, this is not going to fly. You can't print like this. Send us appropriate files, but not everyone is really that diligent. Let's see here. We got, hey, that person's familiar to you.
That's my lovely wife. You
What's
took
up,
a wrong
Melanie?
turn, Skip. What's that? In coming into this stream?
Skip said I saw a post on Twitter and it took me here.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah.
There it is. Let's see. We got Amanda. What's up, Amanda? Good to see you. Also, we got
Some
Bill
people
Mouse.
think
How's it
Amanda's
going,
my
Bill?
wife because her last name is B. That has happened in the past.
Oh.
A different B.
Huh.
Yeah, because it's Melanie B and Amanda B. They get confused. I guess they both have brown hair.
Well, no one's perfect.
I've never seen Amanda out on the lawnmower though.
The plot thickens.
Well, that's what my wife has become famous for, is mowing the lawn. Somehow. I don't know how that happened. It's just,
Surely it's not the
internet.
video you have of her doing it.
Yeah, it could be. Could be a little bit.
Now,
funnily enough, I used to mow the lawn back in the day. And I
Okay.
said, when I started with the comic, I was like, look, I don't have time to be mowing no lawns anymore. I got to be drawing. These things take a lot of time to draw. So if you want a neat lawn,
what are you mowing? The whole outback there, Michael?
we have a really big yard. I didn't realize. We went onto Google Maps and we could see now all of a sudden, it's like, holy cow, our lawn is like 3 times the size of everyone else's around us.
Wow.
I guess we just lucked out like that. I mean, it's good for the kids. Play soccer out there and got a jungle gym.
Poor Melanie.
Not great for Mel though. Yeah, we've gone through so many lawnmowers. They can't handle it. It's too much grass. Although we're finally going electric now, so.
You've sold like 3,000 books. You should get her like a ride-on mower or something.
Well, no, I did get her a really good, big, expensive petrol one, and it went for a while, but it started. I don't know. It just started dying, and we were like, I think it's time to step into the future. With the batteries now, they're advanced, and that's what we've done.
You could go green, just have her get out a pair of scissors. Just kind of.
I think
maybe
she
a
has
scythe.
Out there with scissors
you know,
before
the
I
scythe
got
might
her
be used for
very,
something else
generous,
one day.
Very generously, she was like, I don't want any birthday presents. But my daughter and I were like, when she says that. So we went to the hardware store and bought her a line trimmer. She was very happy, wink, wink, to receive a line trimmer on her birthday. She still talks about that one.
Yeah, that's almost as good as giving like dishwashing soap and a pair of
Mhm.
gloves, or maybe like a plunger or a broom.
Yeah, a good rake. Everyone needs a good rake.
Yeah, such wonderfully romantic, thoughtful gift.
And she accuses me, if you can believe it, Pete, she accuses me of not being romantic.
Oh wow!
I don't know where this is coming from.
How could she say such things?
I know, right? I mean, yeah.
The nerve.
Citizen Rant says vacuum makes a great gift. Shekshi, we need a new vacuum.
I like vacuuming. I don't know why. I like it. It feels like when I'm done vacuuming, I notice the difference of how everything looks, and it feels, like I did something.
You would have a lot to talk about with my wife then. You two.
Yeah, I don't know.
Get
That's one of my.
together.
I don't mind vacuuming.
Share tips. Well, it's good too because my daughter's 13 now. She just turned 13, and she's starting to appreciate
the lawnmower.
Neatness. She hasn't got out in the lawnmower yet, but she's like, I'll go in there and she'll be, wiping down the bench and tidying things up. So I was like, all right, I can use this. This is good behavior.
Yeah. See, Amanda likes vacuuming too. Yeah.
What's with you people?
I like vacuuming.
Like making beds too?
My wife hates vacuuming. She hates even the sound of it. She hates me doing it. Doesn't like it. Knows it needs to get done, but I'm just like, I like it. Yeah. That's a weird one for me.
I'm one of those people that likes neatness. You wouldn't be able to tell from this background. But
there's an organized chaos there, though. I can tell that things are dusted. They're in their place. Yeah.
If you could see it in the flesh, you might not be so positive about it. I don't like it enough to actually go out of my way to clean very often. That's my issue. But luckily,
do you think that kind of goes hand in hand a bit with like the comic book collector mentality? Because we like our collections, our organization, our bagging and boarding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was always into that. I did always like that, and my collection is super neat and all bagged and all lined and everything. And
organized. You know what's what. They're in numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, Mel would laugh at me if I said, "Oh yeah, I like being neat," because she's like, you don't even know what neat is. But yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just what you care about at the time. And to me, I'm always like, I've got other things I need to do. There's never a moment in my day where you'll find me like, I have nothing to do. There's always something if I need to do something. It's just a never-ending stream of tasks that need to
if I need to think, or I'm in like a really like aggravated mood, I'll wash dishes. Like if I got energy to kill, and I'm pissed about something, like the printer just sent me 1,000 books that are destroyed. I'm like burning off the steam by doing that. I'm just gonna
under the skin.
Some dishes scrub the hell out of them like I'm drowning the printer's face in a tub of water. That kind of thing.
I walk. I don't need to scrub dishes.
Well, because I used to play hockey, and I don't do that anymore because I don't have the time or
slam people against the boards.
Oh,
take that!
It's so good. Satisfying.
It is a good feeling. I used to play hockey as well too. Believe it or not, here in Australia, I only did a couple of seasons because I had to. It was getting a bit expensive and time consuming, but I loved it. Yeah. I had that. There's that aggression kind of thing in it, and it's very you're all padded up, so you feel pretty safe.
Yeah, and you get a nice sense of like tunnel vision, like there's nothing else outside of the world anymore. It's a very kind of meditative thing, at least it was for me. All that matters right now is the game. All that matters right now is what you're doing out here, and you forget about your problems, your work, your bills, your whatever the hell's going on, and you just go for it. And nothing kind of keeps you in that zone, like knowing that you may be hit or that you can hit somebody.
Yeah, it keeps you focused.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't just be like, la, la, la. Like, there's no out there in right field like it's baseball, and you could just contemplate life.
You could get
and get lost
because it's so close. It's not very long from one side of the rink to the other.
Yeah. I miss it, but yes, I don't have that outlet anymore for my frustrations. So now it's just like a sink full of dishes, and just go to town on that when I'm needing to burn off some steam.
Luckily, I don't get that frustrated very often. The only thing that frustrates me is when computers don't work. When computers don't work, I start seeing red. That's the only thing. Everything else, I can kind of take on the chin, and I'm fine.
I had a mini tangent yesterday on the open mic show about that. We didn't have a guest, and I got frustrated because StreamYard was doing something. I forget what it was doing. But I was talking then about how earlier in the day yesterday, I turn on the computer, and I have a PC. I don't have a Mac or anything like that. I don't know what you have.
Mac.
But, okay, the PCs, do the Macs need to do like this incessant updating all the time? Or is it just a wonderful gift that the PC gods have bestowed upon me?
Yeah, well, with the Mac, you can just turn it off, the updating, which is great because you don't have to deal with it. But then you do have to deal with it because all of your programs stop working.
Okay, then it's the same thing.
You can do it when you need it. But yeah, when it happens, it takes forever. It doesn't do the auto update. That sounds...
Yeah. So I'll keep putting it off with the updates, and then sometimes the computer's acting funky, so I'm like, all right, I guess I got to do the update. But then every now and then it'll ambush me with an update. So I put the computer on yesterday, and then an update starts happening. I'm like, oh, here we go. 40 minutes of updates.
Yeah.
And it did like 3 cycles of rebooting the computer. I was like, what is this? I just want to print some shipping labels, for crying out loud. 40 minutes.
2025. We're not supposed to have to deal with this.
Yeah, they keep telling us the more tech we get, the easier and more convenient life will be. Have you noticed that that's happened?
No. I've noticed that the more information people have access to, the dumber they get. Like, I don't know if it was out there and we just didn't know about it, but I've seen people, they do videos where they interview people on the street. People that are so dumb, so ignorant, you wonder how they got out of bed in the morning. And you're like, you have more information and like help with technology than anyone in the history of humankind, and you can't even figure out what country you're living in,
What are we gonna do about this?
All I think of is they vote. They not only do those people vote, they're very opinionated about why you're wrong, But they couldn't. One woman, and she was actually famous. She didn't realize the sun and the moon were 2 different things.
You're kidding.
Can you fathom?
They're 2 different things? What?
You would have to not understand to not know that. Like, how are people walking around?
I don't know what it is, and I don't know what the answer to it is, other than kind of just saying maybe people are so used to the fact that we have information at our fingertips, so no one really thinks about learning things anymore. Like, learning things requires repetition and a motivation to understand and absorb it. Yeah. But if you don't need to, and you can just kind of reference the thing real quick and be like, oh, okay, sun different than moon. Gotcha. And then you just you go on with your day.
Moon, not same.
Yeah, seriously.
Different ball in sky. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a great anecdote of a little girl who ended up saving a bunch of lives in somewhere in Malaysia or Indonesia or something, because she saw all the calling signs of tsunami, and she'd learnt it at school. And they were like, so she alerted someone, they were able to evacuate the area, and a lot of people's lives were saved because she saw it first. And I was just like, oh, that's a great point. So you can't just rely on Googling everything as you need to. You do actually have to know things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And be able to pull. And plus, if you want to do anything like what we're doing, you can't just Google everything as you go. You need to build on an accumulated base of knowledge.
Yeah, 100%. And
I've revealed something to you all now that you're just gonna go like, oh my god, is he correct? I think it came about because this woman was traveling and saw the moon in the sky during the day, and she came back to her friend and said, you wouldn't believe it, in this country the moon comes out during the day. And the woman
only happens a few days every single month for all eternity.
And then she was like, what do you mean? I didn't. She's like, yeah, how can the moon and the sun be in the same sky at the same time? And she's like, I didn't even realize that were 2 different things. And I was like, I'm out. Send the asteroid.
Oh my lord. So okay, I'm segueing this into, and I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna segue this into creating your own stories and what inspires you. Because I can't think of a proper segue at this point in time to leave.
Ram it in.
to leave the uneducated masses conversation. So what does inspire you as far as creating your stories? And you've got a wonderful graphic novel series with the Lucent. You know, there's so many things that go on in the world, and there's so many things that have gone on in storytelling. But what has been the defining thing for you? What was that moment where you were like, that's the story I want to create?
Well, for me, it's a little bit personal because I used to have these crazy dreams back when I was living a more youthful life of staying up late and playing poker and being a student and everything. I had these crazy dreams, right? And that's how the whole sort of lucid thing came about. But if you break it down, what is that about? It's like, that's a mysterious thing.
Mm-hmm.
And people have been doing this. People have been sort of self-hallucinating and doing weird things with their brain and meditation and everything for thousands of years. And they have, you know, similar experiences, and they talk about them. They have visions and all sorts of stuff. So I've always just been completely intrigued by all of that and believing that there's more going on in this reality of ours than we can see or perceive in our normal day-to-day state. Tie that into the fact that they, you know, like the history that we have is the same. Like, it's not what we think it is. Even recent history isn't what we think it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, go back 20, 30 years, what people say about what life was like, you know, if you lived it, you're like, it wasn't like that. Imagine, take that back 2,000, 4,000, 10,000 years. That's what inspires me. So, you know, for instance, this new pyramid thing, whether it's real or not.
Like what's under the pyramid?
Yeah, that's the what's inside my battery in terms of energy and motivation. I see that stuff and I'm like, oh yeah, like I want to tell a story around that, you know, something to do with that. So I've just kind of taken all of that that's swelling around in my head and just sort of slowly over many years kind of crafted all of that into a story. Like, really, I crafted it into a world, and then from that world I've got a story. I like to use the analogy of Star Wars. Like, the Star Wars universe is this big expansive universe, and Lucas chose to tell the story of, you know, the Skywalker clan because it was, you know, pivotal thing. That's sort of how I approach it with the Lucent. You know, I take in all these things I just find so intriguing and fun and just great fodder for storytelling. And I've created this world, and now we're following you know, Ella and the character and everything that sort of happens around that. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Would you consider yourself either educated about the subject matter in terms of like ancient civilizations? And
I would say much more educated than just a person on the street. Yes.
Okay.
But, you know, I'm not an expert. You know,
yeah.
I've read books and I've watched videos and I've looked into it and I've studied. You know, a lot of what I'm interested in that I've drawn from comes from Sumeria, that sort of thing.
Okay.
But, you know, as far as we know now, that's where what we consider the cradle of our current civilization is. It sort of spreads out everywhere, you know, and the mystery of why are all these things seemingly similar all across the world, when we know that probably would have never interacted one-to-one, two civilizations with each other, something else.
Are you familiar with the work of Michael Cremo?
No.
Okay, Michael Cremo had hypothesized that mankind is far older than we think it is, like possibly even like millions of years old.
Okay.
And that we've had, like, he was like, Graham Hancock kind of has more or less popularized the cataclysm type events that have occurred throughout the ages, but Michael Cremo was one of the first, if not maybe the first, at least as far as we know, to really kind of put it out there that there were multiple cataclysmic events and civilizations that existed that were completely wiped off the face of the earth. And I don't know why that's necessarily so hard to potentially accept, because the people I find who usually poo-poo that are the ones that will also espouse the theory of evolution for human beings being relatively concrete as to what it is, when all we really have with the fossil record of that is only a couple 100,000 years old. And there's nothing else on this planet whatsoever that within a couple 100,000 years advanced in evolution the way that human beings did. So combining that with the fact that even in modern times we see that things get repurposed, things get demolished, things get destroyed, things get completely forgotten, and within a generation or two, if someone didn't know that was there, you'd never know.
Yeah, completely buried, erased. The friggin' the Amazonian cities. That wasn't even. I didn't even think that was 100 years, and they were just all gone, and no one could find them. And now they're only finding them now through LiDAR, and they're everywhere. And they're like, oh crap, they were right, you know. And so I think everything that comes out, every new piece of information that comes out, points in that direction. You never see anything coming out and saying, oh no, it's actually much younger than what we thought it was. It's always it's some amount of time older. We don't know how much older, but it's definitely an amount of time older. And either way, when you bring it back to storytelling, that is way cooler than it being younger, because it's like, all right, what do you mean? There were civilizations 150, 200,000, hundreds of thousands of years ago.
Yeah, an inconceivable amount of time when you really think about it.
That's a great story. Well, no matter what way you slice it, that's a great story. And, you know, I'd want to play around with that. My story doesn't go back that far. You know, I do have, I mean, I'll show it off. Why the hell not? That people are going to receive this in a week or so. Where is it? On the back of one of my cards here. I can't find it. There it is. So it's not going to make any sense to you, but that's the what are they called? The Seven Sages, the Apkula. That's my interpretation of them.
Okay.
And this is 10,750 BC, and they're sort of arriving at this devastated village and meeting this kid here. So, that's about the extent as far back as I go. But no, if anyone wanted to tell a story of a ancient civilization of humans, 200,000 years ago, that's something I'd be interested in. I would want to see that. And if there is any kind of evidence, not necessarily proof, but just something that it exists out there that would lend credence to that just makes the story even better. I mean, you don't even really need evidence, just like you look at the way ice ages work, periodically.
Yeah.
An ice age will just wipe out everything that came before it. And there's so many ice ages, and then each one, you can imagine. I don't know what the period is. I don't know, 300,000 years or whatever it is. I don't know. It just wipes out everything that it goes through, and whatever was there before is destroyed completely. The ice it'll pick up rock and move it. A continent's.
I mean, just where they've found. I think it was during the last ice age. The Younger Dryas, that period, where they found like mammoths with food in their mouths. That's how cold it got, which is why everyone's thinking there's some kind of impact theory with the comets and stuff like that, that something must have happened relatively fast to literally freeze things as they still had food in their mouth.
It's like, what? And when you say like advanced civilization, it doesn't have to be advanced in the same way that we're advanced as an informational civilization with, computer technology and everything. It could be advanced in a different way, whatever it is, or it could be, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. No one knows. But you could do pretty much anything.
That's the crazy part, though, right? Is because if everything that we are capable of doing on Earth is basically here.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, some stuff like some meteors hit Earth and gave us some different minerals here and there, but it's not like that's the case across the board. But so if more or less everything here, the circuitry, the computing, what's in your Wi-Fi, what's in your phone, that's all minerals, that's all different stones, that's all different kinds of material that's earthbound. Who's to say that someone didn't know how to manipulate that in some way, shape, or form? You know, a piece of quartz or silicone or whatever it is, all these different varieties of minerals that we use in technology. But who's to say that they didn't maybe know how to manipulate that, and it's just not the way that we're familiar with how that was done?
It's so trivially easy to lose knowledge. I mean, we can see it hundreds of times over the course of the last 1,000 years. Skills and knowledge just get lost, just like that. You know, a new tribe comes in, and a war happens, a famine, whatever, and that's gone, and we don't know. Like, we even today, you go to some of these cathedrals in Europe or these castles, and you look up at them, and you're like, we couldn't build that today. We could do it, but we don't have the society to do it. It's not in our purview anymore, because that took kind of like a faith-based society.
And more interestingly, I don't think we could do it the way they did it.
Yeah, it's not available to us anymore. And that's happened in 100 years. So yeah, if you go back tens of thousands of years, absolutely. Like I said, everything points to this is a possibility, as opposed to it not being possible. Like, anyone who says, "Oh, this couldn't possibly happen," is completely full of it, because every single thing points to it being possible. Whether it happened, that you have to find evidence and stuff. But
why do you think it is? Maybe have you ever given thought as to why different academic kind of institutions, or even sometimes it seems like governments even don't want to explore that possibility?
Human nature, I would say. It's just human nature. It's just the cycles of civilization come about. You know, that adage, the weak men create hard times, and that sort of thing. I think there are certain immutable things about us as people that we see it play out in our day-to-day on a micro level that affect macro level. Civilizations rise and fall, and those same forces come into play in personal interactions. And it doesn't take much imagination to see, okay, why are the people who've been in control of the Giza Plateau so obtuse and so intransigent to anything new that goes against what they've established as the history of ancient Egypt for 50 years, when the evidence just keeps mounting that it's something more. I'm not saying it is 100% what other people are saying it is, but it's more than what you're saying it is 100%. But you've got careers, you've got legacies, you've got livelihoods, and it's the same all over the sciences. It's
power.
Power
and money.
It's really infuriating to see that, as powerful as science is, it is very, one of its biggest strengths is that people get so hyper focused on their subject, and that's why they become experts and they're able to really dive in. But at the same time, they do get so hyper focused, very few people step back and see the bigger picture, or even want to look at it, because you could find something in there that will prove you wrong, and you don't want to do that.
And to what you were saying too about losing knowledge and things like that, it doesn't take too much to lose knowledge. There's so much that has happened just within the comic industry, and just that in and of itself, this little industry, let alone every other aspect of everything. But within comics, there's aspects of things that have been forgotten in terms of anyone making comics today. A very small number, if not maybe no one at this point, understands how they did comics back when they first came out, or the colors that they did, the color separations, all the different ways that they did that, to have someone go in there and do hand lettering, doing it the way that they did it, to have the cover layout be the way that it is. There's something so beautiful about original comic art from a certain era of time, because it'll never look that way after that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting and kind of sad and weird at the same
even
time.
Just the fact that it's now becoming rarer and rarer, at least in American comics, that people can just maintain monthly releases. You know,
it's becoming more and more puzzling as to how the hell did they do it so well, so efficiently. And it goes more than just having someone be a good taskmaster or having the art be more simplified or whatever, because at the same time that the art is more simplified, you look at these pages from a lot of these older comics, especially 70s, 80s, and they're far more detailed than you'd think. So even though figures might be kind of simplified, you don't have every little seam on an outfit or every little shoelace or whatever. You open up, like one of my favorites is John Byrne. And John Byrne was doing, I don't even know, God, how many comics a month? Like it was insane at a time. It seemed like John Byrne had like 10 comics a month coming out. And yet meanwhile, here's a detailed, beautiful splash page. Here's a really dynamic and well done book. And sometimes he'd be even writing them too. You know, so it's just, what the hell happened? You know, is it just like he was a one, and I mean, is a generational talent, but it seems like there was a time period where there were dozens of generational talents. And then slowly it just dissipated into.
I think that's a real thing.
One or
I
two
think that's a real phenomena. I think that is part of the cycle. We do get certain people that are just so much more beyond everyone else and beyond the average. But I also think you get time periods where you get more of those people. You know, like certain times just create certain kinds of people, and that's, you know, that goes through a cycle. And I think you see that playing out across the board in all fields now, where these kind of 1 in a billion people are rarer and they're sort of, you know, more renowned for themselves, whereas like back in the day they were one of many. Because it is a mystery to me. I don't know how those guys did it. I mean, they're just cut from different cloth.
Yeah, and it's something that you look at, and I wonder, are we ever going to see someone as prolific as we saw an era of creative people? And it wasn't just in comics, it was in all kinds of fields, whether it was music, whether it was literature, film, whatever it was. It seems like, I mean, hell, even sports, there was a lot of people during those time periods that it seemed like they were iconic and defined the sport, that people still, they set records that it's still very difficult to break if ever. You know, it's interesting, like this kind of explosion of what had occurred. It's kind of the same thing that happened with technology after World War II, where all of a sudden technology just exponentially just exploded, which is quite coincidental with the alleged Roswell crash, but that's neither here nor there.
It's it's an interesting phenomena that I think you can only kind of look back on. Like in the middle of it, you just have to sort of deal with it as you can, but you know, you can see it when you look back. And I think people have, and they've sort of seen these cycles of genius and then not so much. And it'd be interesting to see someone properly unpack it with a good theory that explains why this happens.
Yeah, if you ever see someone do that, let me know.
I've seen people kind of come up with ideas, but I mean, I don't know if it applies to everything, because it does seem to be a real thing. Like I was thinking the other day about John Williams, you know, the composer. It's good composers that are out there making music for movies and stuff, but I mean, he is like a 1 in 10 billion kind of guy. And when he dies, and he's old now, that'll kind of be it. There are others. I'm not saying, you know, no one is there, but it's not like the next John Williams is, you know, on his way up. That'll be gone, and there won't be any more, you know.
And in those situations too, I wonder, Are we seeing this kind of thing because there's a talent shortage, or are we seeing the talent shortage because companies have shifted what they want to do? Like, we're not seeing as many movie scores as there used to be, certainly not in the iconic nature that they used to be, where you'd have this, think of like the Superman score, for instance, and it's relatively like 5 minutes long. And it's all about, like, those scores were all about making you go from your world slowly sinking into theirs. And that's what that was about, was taking that music and, you know, even like theme songs. Remember theme songs for like shows that they would kind of like,
we love doing
things like that. And
you know, like what gets the theme songs. They were so recognizable. Now I wouldn't even tell me.
Yeah, I don't even think things. Most shows don't have theme songs.
Theme song is and when one does get one, it's like this. Oh, I remember that. Yeah. I think it's a million tiny little things on some big things as well. Dal said, you know, he made a great point. I think today's John Byrne puts his energy into 5 million subscribers on TikTok instead. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. These guys weren't distracted by all the modern day distractions. You know, it was much more no nonsense. There's a myriad of economic issues that today's young people have to face that maybe wasn't, you know, was different at least back in the day. And there's just so much. And as well, like, talk about movies. I remember Matt Damon talking about this. He said movies aren't made in the same way anymore because the rental market disappeared and people don't really buy DVDs anymore. They just wait for streaming services. So that really affects the kinds of movies that studios want to invest in because they need to make money. And it's like, so that's changed that. And then in the movie,
like one thing feeds the other.
Was really a really big engine of cultural, you know, entertainment and everything that's sort of really changed.
Yeah.
And that affects everything. So, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting because that stuff, it feeds into each other. And then you have like a generation that goes by. It's kind of like what we were talking about with why the comic industry doesn't seem to know how to appeal to the youth anymore. And manga seems to know how to do that. And I think if you look at what manga does with anime, especially like those industries that kind of one hand washes the other, it's largely the opposite of what happens in modern comic times. You know, I think it happened really well in like the 80s and 90s when you had this great synergy, especially in the 90s with the animated shows. And they've really kind of reflected the heart of the characters, and they look like what was in the comics, and things just kind of felt like you could jump from Batman the Animated Series into like a Batman comic and not be entirely lost with what was going on and who was who and the characterization. Like you could picture or hear Kevin Conroy's voice when you read Batman at that point in time. And it seems like along the way they lost this kind of singular vision that unified everything, and it became this multi-universal sort of thing where like this was this, that was that, this cinematic universe here, this animated universe there, the comics, it's fractured into a million different, God knows what I could even call it, because it's not really universes, it's kind of storylines or retcons or reboots or whatever. And it just feels like
a mess is what I'd call it.
Yeah, it feels like we're no longer striving as an industry to give people entertainment that not just entertains but also informs and moves and makes you think and inspires you, but it kind of is like, here's a boatload of homework time and time again. And I don't know why, and it seems like we're heading towards some kind of implosion that's going to occur based on the back of how audiences are receiving the majority of the movies and shows lately that are comic related. It seems to they seem to be exhausted by it a lot of the time.
That's me. Like, even if stuff looks good, I can't bring myself to care. I go, oh yeah, that Superman trailer looks all right. I don't care. You know?
Yeah,
I think that's what happens when you get kind of abused as a customer or a viewer or whatever. You get sort of taken for granted, and you know, it's a lot of things, like everything. But yeah, I wish they had just stopped at Endgame and then said, all right, we're taking a 15-year hiatus from all things comic book and let it sit and be something. Let it exist in culture like Star Wars was for so many years, like Harry Potter was for so many years. But instead they just like had, oh, we got the golden goose, we got to keep strangling that neck until we get the last friggin' drop out.
Yeah.
And now, like me, I'm the guy, I'm making a comic, grew up reading comics. I'm the guy they should think, oh, he would really be. No, I'm not. I mean, it looks fine.
I never thought. I'm far more likely now to put on documentaries, to put on things like that, than
Dude, I watch renovation
on
shows on YouTube before I watch the latest thing.
I check out like how things are made. Like I love production factory videos and stuff.
Yeah. That's actually another thing that's happening is everyone gets the choice of what they're into at that time. Whereas before it was more like you get what you get and you don't get upset. You know?
Yeah.
This is what's on at the movies. This is what's on television. You've only got a limited number of channels. This is what's on the radio. That's it. That's how you build like superstars, big public things and everything. But
yeah.
Now it's, you know, you've got Netflix, you've got video games, you've got all on tap. That's the difference. It's all on tap. You got YouTube. It's on tap. Whatever you want is there.
Yeah,
you want it.
And there's a part of me that I'm hopeful for what's to come because of that.
It will allow people. They won't get like Michael Jackson famous, but they'll be famous enough amongst a small, dedicated fan group that they'll be able to make a living and make their art. So that's what's cool about it. But we'll see less and less Tom Cruises and Michael Jordans and Michael Jacksons, but we'll see a lot of like, you know, those people who are like there's YouTubers now that have 15-20 million subs who you've never heard of, and there's thousands of them. You know,
yeah,
it'll be like that.
Well, it reminds me of even something that you don't see a whole hell of a lot of today, but it used to make movies and shows, was the character actor. You know, now you see a lot of like, here's a superstar and they put it, you know, here in your face all over the place. And, you know, where are like these performances that help bring the rest of it to life? You know, it's very few and far between as opposed to what it used to be. There was like a plethora of character actors. But it's a weird thing, and it feels like the working actor, the working creative in terms of the comic creator, I think it is going to bring about kind of like this renaissance. It's doing like an organic reset, it feels like, because the people who originally made all the comics we love and all the characters we love, they didn't have comic books to base anything off of, really. It was just kind of storytelling, or they came from different aspects of the world in terms of creativity. It wasn't like someone grew up reading Spider-Man and wanted to make Spider-Man stories.
Yeah.
There wasn't a Spider-Man. They made Spider-Man, you know, but they made it based on the experiences they had in life. And it feels like because now we're kind of coming full circle again to people that are going to be creating these things, but inspired from places that came outside of the storytelling. And that's kind of what excites me, is seeing people being able to do that. Like when I talk to a lot of people, like they don't really tell me their inspiration for creating the story that they create. Like some people do, but most don't. Most say that it's something that's outside of comics that has inspired them to create the comic that they're creating. And that, I think, is where we're going to get to a good place.
Oh, cool. Dude, I'm so sorry. I do have to run. I got to jump onto another stream that was prearranged. I didn't realize we would go for. I mean, I could
no
keep
problem.
For another hour and a half. But
I was gonna wrap it up at an hour and a half anyway. But yeah, no problem, man. Maybe we'll continue this on your channel one day. I'll take a visit over there.
I would love that. I would absolutely love that.
All right, man. Well, before we go, I just want to give a quick shout out to the Lucent comic. You guys can go sign up for the next chapter here. You've got, is this book number 3 coming out?
It's a supplemental book. So I I'm doing something different with the third book in the series, but this is like a supplemental action one-shot that I'll be going live in June.
Okay, fantastic. All right, and one question for you. Captain Goodnight wants to know, is there a way to buy the PDFs of the Lucent?
You can actually read the first Lucent over on Global Comics for free, the entire first book. And then I will be putting up the second book on there soon. Not a way to buy it yet, but yeah, in the future there will be more digital options. I had a digital option going when the campaign was live, but I ended up taking it down because I want to sort of, I'm liking what Global Comics is doing over there, so I want to sort of build that up.
Oh, okay.
So
Great.
you'll be able to find me.
All right. Well, Michael, it's always a pleasure, man. And I know we could probably go another hour or so, but you got a jet. We'll continue this one day on your channel. And all the best, man. Really great catching up with you.
All right. I got to run. See ya.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
All right, everyone. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Really appreciate your questions and comments in the chat. If you like the show, give it a thumbs up. If you're subscribed, thank you. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel. I tend to have interviews on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We're kind of doing like a reset to an all new, all different, but basically kind of same, but maybe better version of Comic Book Radio. We've been doing this for the month of April so far. So far, so good. Thank you guys so much for being here. And again, also, if you haven't had a chance yet to back King Cryptid number 10 to 13, which is my series, it's a monster mystery paranormal series. We follow the adventures of King Cryptid, who is New England's supernatural hero. We're on issues 10 to 13 right now, funding. 1 through 9 are out and available. And we are 18 backers away from 400. So thank you guys so much for backing if you have. And if you haven't yet, please check it out. It's on Indiegogo. You can go to kingcryptid.com to check it out on Indiegogo. Or I prefer you go where you want to go. But if you really had to twist my arm, I'd prefer you go to alternacomics.com. Alternacomics.com/King Cryptid will take you right to everything King Cryptid, and you can see all the merch and the comics and everything that's there. Thank you guys again so much, and yes, stay subbed. Make sure if you think you're subscribed, make sure you actually are subscribed, because I'm finding sometimes some people get unsubscribed. So thank you guys again. This was a great conversation with Michael, and I'm looking forward to continuing it on his channel one day. Hopefully soon. All right, guys, everyone, take it easy. Have a wonderful night and an even better tomorrow. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 9 o'clock. I'll have an open lines show, so if anyone wants to hop in and have a chat with me on anything comic related or whatever else, please feel free to do that again tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Eastern on this channel. I'll see you guys later. All the best.